If it's undercovered, underreported, or a waste of time, you can be sure we'll be heard. Nothing is off limits. Welcome to Broad Street Radio.
Welcome back to Broad Street Radio. My name is not Michael Morris. That's Michael Morris. This is Nathan Schoener, the real genius behind the show and behind the scenes. What say you, Michael Morris?
Did you just mock my count into the show?
Well, they didn't know that.
I would like them to hear it. It was worth hearing that because that's why I didn't say a word. Go ahead. Give it to him.
No.
You made me sound like the Tootsie Pop commercial. How many licks does it take? A one, a two,
a three.
You know, I can't not do that. Just because that's how I had to do it for radio when we were recording. And now I just have to kind of get myself in that mode. And then when you did it, I was like, maybe that's fucking ridiculous what I just did. But I have to do it every single time.
Well, that's okay.
Let's talk a little things we've been making here lately. Because here's the thing. Nate and I will sit here and do these podcasts, or we'll be kicking around, staring at the walls. And it's like we had these green screens in here that Nate's had set up for production. I was like, hey, let's just do some dumb things with this to show what can be done with the green screen. I don't know how many people have actually seen them, but I would encourage you to look them up. But
I'll give you one better because we actually edit this show. Well,
someone edits this show?
Yeah. Holy cow. You
My
know
God. I thought it was just perfect as it came out.
We'll throw in some clips here or there. So
that's
if you
a good
talk
idea.
about one or whatever, we'll throw it in.
Must be 150 feet.
Must be.
Shit. Sorry, I didn't know you guys were coming back. You know what this place needs?
Big round table. 6 chairs. Right there.
Oh, only 5 chairs. There's 3 of you and 2 of us.
Totally. Yes.
5. Only 5.
But room for more.
A room for more.
Well, so we had the idea that because Nate can film anything, whether it's a movie or whether it's a commercial or whatever. And so we were just having fun with these things, and now they've kind of turned into business, let's say.
Sure.
I think my favorite one for a sentimental reason is the one where we're in the jury pool with our friend and attorney, Stan Willis.
Wow, this is so awesome. We get to be here in the jury box. You know, the trial by jury is like the linchpin of our democracy. It's the mainstay of our freedom. It's so important in our society. I just can't believe that we get to participate in this. This is awesome. Are you on your phone?
No.
I mean, this is such an awesome responsibility. I mean, this person's life is literally in our hands. I mean, it just comes down to what we decide in the jury room. This is so important, so critical.
Would you like a peanut?
No, we're freaking in the jury box, dude. We're deciding this guy's fate.
When these horrible crimes took place, state's going all out here.
This is our duty. This is our responsibility as citizens. This is critical.
It's awesome to have on film my daughter actually being in it so we can look at that 20 years from now when I'm in jail for tax evasion and she has a family.
You'll be what, 95 in about 20 years?
Shit. I'll still be doing this dumb show from the Hooskow. I never really asked you when we make these things, like, what do you think of when we're doing it? Because I know you're probably thinking of the actual artwork of it, and I'm thinking of the, hey, let's crank this shit out because this would be funny about it. Mm-hmm. I've never asked you what goes into actually, like, how do you look at something creatively and figure it out?
So multiple different ways for different things. For these particularly, as we're filming, whether it's just, you and I, or whether we have some of our other clients here as well, which is nice. I like the fact that it's not just me, where they can be talking with you about like scripting or, like what to say, when, or whatever. I'm thinking of the edit. So I'm thinking of the fact that they're in a green screen. So I'm thinking, how am I going to edit this? Do they need to look left of camera, right of camera, to you, who we're going to film you 5 minutes later, to make sure that you're going to be saying the same type of things, or if they say 5 things in a row, to make sure that they're responding to you and that you're going to need to say this or whatever.
That's kind of my favorite part is when we do these. So when you'll probably see it in this show, but if you're not looking at it, we film people one at a time, and then Nate will edit to look like we're like shoulder to shoulder, or we're talking to each other across the table. When I'm feeding them lines, there's nothing written down.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, hey, say this or react to this in a certain way, and just feeding. I forget what it is I fed them because it's off the top of my head, and then I'm like, I gotta make some shit up, and I only remember like one thing.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it we just kind of fill in. But with that,
I've noticed that while editing it.
Oh,
you're like, what did they say here?
Yeah,
like every single time I was like, oh, hey, that's funny.
I totally forget. But the point is, what we're trying
We
to.
should probably write it down.
I thought about that, but you know what? They come out so good when they're unscripted. At least one of them has. But what I think is cool about this is that, like, we're going on TikTok Live, and we're putting the podcast on YouTube and putting things out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. What I like is that we're showing people what's possible. The whole goal of this was to show what's possible. And, you know, heading into, I mean, let's just face it, we're in a recession right now. So if you're listening to this in 2035, we were in bad shape. But I think being able to show somebody in an entertaining way what you can do for yourself and your business, that was the whole goal. The aspect that's rolling out of that is seeing people that are really having a good time doing it.
Yeah.
I enjoy that more than anything else, especially when you take somebody who's kind of stiff or uncomfortable with it, and they're having fun cutting multiples of these.
Yeah.
It's fun to see that. It's kind of like this show. Like, you're not, would it be fair to say you're not the most outgoing person unless you know people?
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. You're just more introverted and more, you kind of keep your thoughts to yourself. Whereas when we're doing this, I think you express yourself a lot more. And then when people meet you in person, you're like, hi.
How are you?
Yeah. Hello. I don't even think you would say that much. I think it's just one word. Hiya. I think it's cool to be able to show,
Make
like,
me sound like I'm a caveman or something.
No, I don't mean it like that. It's just I never shut up, and I'm not really.
It's true.
I'm not really listening. You're more of the listener, and I'm more of the talker. Fair.
Yeah.
Which makes it really hard to. You know where I got into that though? Well, number one, I just talk all the time. But when I would do radio shows and I didn't know who the guest was, somebody would book the guests. When they came in and they were the shits,
Yeah.
I would have to figure out, like, I got to carry this for half an hour about a subject I had no idea. But, you know, I didn't know anything about tile or real estate or whatever they're coming in to talk about. So I just have to talk over them. Now, when we actually get good people in here and they want to, like, steamroll the show, it's like, this is what I'm looking for. Like, Stan does a great job of that.
Yeah.
Once you get him going, he will give you a lot. You just got to figure out that, like, dude, this is only half an hour. You've got to shut your mouth at some point.
We've had some good guests on recently who I think can kind of go toe to toe with you. When we first started the show, we had a few guests that.
Let's talk about how shit that was.
Okay.
I mean, it's fair to say, because one of them we haven't seen in a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
But we would have all these kind of concepts about it. And the whole point is, just so you know, if you're ever going to do your own show, I think this is the best lesson to learn. There's got to be one person who's kind of the conductor, and their job is not to get themselves over. It is to make everybody else in the room, whether it's one person or 5 people, to make sure everyone gets a chance to get their opinions out, their points. So you're not really, I don't think you can really enjoy the show because you're physically, mentally doing the show. When you add other people in, you got to take into account their personalities.
Yeah.
But what I noticed in the beginning is no one cared at the table about anybody else. It was, I got to get my shit in. As though they weren't going to get called on or something.
Yeah.
Those were brutal. Like, back then, I didn't think it was as bad. And then watching it, like, looking at 2 minutes of it, I'm like, this was an abomination.
But again, we had to start from somewhere. So, like, you don't know what you don't know when you're starting a show. And every show is different.
Did you rhyme on purpose? You don't know what you don't know, and when you're starting a show? You're the Waylon Jennings of podcasters. It's
Sure.
a country music star. Go on.
That's why I don't know. Because I listen to good music.
Yeah.
Ouch. No,
K-pop
just kidding.
or whatever that's called.
No, I don't even know that either.
Go on. You were
Anyway,
gonna say.
I don't remember what I'm saying now.
We were
went
talking
off a
about the
tangent.
shows and how they've
True,
evolved.
yes. So every show's different too. So we've started a couple different shows together. I produce another couple of shows and then I'll also edit a few other shows. Every show's different, even if it's similar structure or whatever, because it has to do with personalities. It has to do with topics. It has to do with who your audience is, whether it's your clients, whether it's anybody in a specific space, whatever it may be. So every show, every podcast is different. So starting it out, learning as you go. So we can learn a lot by going back and looking at those first few episodes, cringy or not.
I don't hate them. I just,
Yeah.
I think the idea was at the time there were 4 guys that I think individually, when you were talking to them, there was something there. It is putting them all together at one time. No matter what, there's always going to be an alpha and beta relationship in any communication. Mm-hmm. And then you turn around and you're like, oh, 2 of these guys want to be alphas and they're talking over each other. And one person that you want to hear the most from, you have to almost go, guys, shut up so I can hear from him at the end. And that could be the guy who has the most information.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many people that want to. I get a call every single week. Hey, I was thinking about doing a podcast. What do you want to do it on? Well, this is what I got this 2 weeks ago. Well, my buddies and I, we always do these funny skits and all that stuff. Okay, what do you want the podcast to be about? I don't know. I thought we'd just talk about our skits. Honestly. Now,
Okay.
that's not a bad thing
No.
if you're the Impractical Jokers or something.
Yeah.
But I think that people think that they have a lot to talk about. Like somebody would care. The good news is somebody out there does actually care about that.
Yeah.
It is, you've got to do this over and over and over and over to build an audience. And that's why I think people get upset. If you ever do this for an audience and not for yourself, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest lesson I could tell anybody is that, you know, whether it's radio or a podcast or you're writing something, you got to write it with yourself in mind, and you got to write it like, do I care about this? Do I like this?
Yeah.
Because on the other side, if something does catch on, people can't wait to hate on it. You can't take it personal. If you're making it for other people, that will bother. If you make it with yourself in mind and what you want, you can never be upset about the outcome. Has anybody come to you with like just an absolutely stupid podcast idea or a commercial idea? Like mainly I'm thinking podcasts. I mean, I can't imagine how many people
Except for any of the stuff you say.
all of this,
That's about
everything
it.
I touch is shit, but we still crank it out. I did do what I like about the show we do with Stan is that Stan isn't trying to be, he's not trying to like put on airs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is who he is. But there are some people that want to literally dig down deep into subject matter to the point where it's only interesting to you. So like if we did a law podcast and we just talked about tortious interference or something like that.
That's a big word for you.
I know, I memorized it.
Okay.
I watched Law and Order a lot when I was in college.
Can you give the definition of that?
Of course, it's your tortious is between your shoulders and your waist. So, but people would be talking about these things, and they want it. Not understanding that your audience has a 7th grade education. I mean, on average, there are college educated people that literally don't know how to operate like a microwave. You have to tell people stories. You have to explain something on a level where, like, okay, I got it, so I can follow along.
Yep.
Some people want to dig so deep, and they want to use these terms almost like, I want you to know what I know. You know what I mean? To build up myself. And nobody wants that. What they want is dumb it down for me. Why did everybody like the Amber Heard trial? Because she pooped in his bed. But also, we've seen, first of all, I'd only seen her in one thing, so I wasn't even sure who she was. But what we liked about it is in our own lives, there's turmoil, right? I want to see somebody with money and fame and power. I want to see them going through the same thing.
Yeah.
People couldn't wait to watch that. But there were podcasts just about that. Like, we talked about it some, but it was just kind of like, this is like the ugliest divorce in the history of Hollywood. But there's not a lot of meat on that bone other than making fun of it.
Yeah.
But there are people that, again, lawyers want to get into the whole, every step of this case. Just tell me, is he going to win or is she going to win? That's what we want to know. And how much money? That's the other thing we want to know. I don't want to know anything else about it. And most people wouldn't. But I think that there's probably still an Amber Heard podcast out there.
Oh, yeah.
If there's not, we should start one.
Yeah. We'll look into it.
What if we just called it the Amber Heard podcast, but we never talked about her? Like it was something about like financial advice.
Well, she's in such need of money, she probably would come after us and sue
It doesn't
us.
matter. She keeps finding all her attorneys. We just have Stan represent us.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I said, Stan, I'm getting sued by Amber Heard. Can you defend me? Like, I don't even know that he
I
would
didn't
take
think
them.
it was your lawyer. I thought Scott Briley
Well, Scott
was
is
your
my lawyer. Technically, he works in the title business, and he was a lawyer a long time ago. I hired him. He's on a $0 retainer, and anytime I get in trouble, I call him.
And he can't refute that because he doesn't watch the show.
And he's not even here. He's been on this show so many times.
He hasn't been on for a while.
There's a reason. No, I'm just kidding.
He probably does watch this show.
He does. I know he watches the ones he was on. He watches it with his wife, and that's why she's leaving him. But I think that he's another one. That guy's a fountain of knowledge about a ton of stuff.
Yep.
And wants to have a movie podcast and all that kind of stuff. But again, it sounds good to do it. But now I'm going to stop at 10 o'clock every Tuesday. I'm going to record this for half an hour. I'm going to edit it or have somebody else edit it. To really make this work, you've got to do 50 to 52 episodes a year. We got that other guy that wants to do one every single day. I don't understand that. I mean, that is really taking it to the next level.
Yeah,
what I like
that's
is
doable because there's people out there that do it.
But this is what I'll give him credit for. That guy has huge balls. Have you ever done this? Nope. How many you want to do? One every day. If you're going to do it, go all in.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% behind that guy.
Yeah.
That guy needs my help. Just ask me and I'll help you out.
Yep.
But that's what I think it takes is that so many people think they have something to say.
The biggest thing with podcasts out there, specifically from a production standpoint, is that people don't realize that it takes a while to even get to grow an audience, to start to get an audience and to grow one. That they give up. They see that, oh man, the 20 episodes we've had 3 views per episode or whatever, and then just stop. 50% of all podcasts usually don't make it past a year. And that's
Is
a
that
lot.
if they're doing one a week or
Then
one a week?
yeah.
Oh, they just stop.
Yeah. If they don't see traction, I mean, and I get it. Like if I didn't know this, if I didn't study it, like if I wasn't in this business and I just was Joe Schmo off the street, you want to start a podcast, they see, Pat McAfee and his, yes, he was a NFL kicker for the Colts, but his sports podcast show, how many viewers that he gets, sometimes rivaling ESPN views and stuff like that. Hey, I want to do that. I can do that. I got 4 buddies and can sit down and talk about sports all day. And he does it 5 days a week for 3 hours. So, hey, we could do it once a week.
But he parlayed that into working for WWE as a comment, right? So what you need is Joe Rogan was doing this back in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So when people look at it and go, I want to be Rogan, cool. Put 10 to 15 years into it before it really takes off and give it away. Rogan was giving the video away on YouTube all the time.
Yeah.
You got to give your product away for people to get it, to have access to it, and then somebody will eventually pay you for it. But if they
Consistency too. If you have consistency, then you'll grow the audience. The audiences are out there. Doesn't matter if it's a show about soap, making soap. There's people out there that like to make soap or want to learn how to make soap. If you know how to do it really well, can talk about doing it really well, there's no reason why a show about making organic soap or what goes into soap or whatever can't. Now, that's not something that I personally would like. Maybe you. I mean, I've smelled you a few times. Maybe you could get into it. But we'll skip that for now. But there's an audience out there for that. And when you find an audience and you do it, like you said, do it for yourself, something that you want to hear, something that you would like to subscribe to, that you're into, you talk about it or whatever. Audience comes, and then when an audience comes, that's when you can start to make money. That's when you can start to run ads or, have affiliate links or so many different avenues to grow it into an actual business at that point.
All of these things that you see, especially in the digital age, is that these are all passion projects.
Yeah.
That somebody would have done this anyway. They're doing it to put it out there because they think it's important or they think it's entertaining or whatever. It just happens to take off because there's enough people that find it. And they say, you know what? I really like your content. I think that's the weirdest conversation or compliment anyone's ever give is, I really like your content. Whether it's the green screen videos or whether it's a podcast or whatever. I always think it's weird when someone brings that up. Because I'm like, this is all garbage. But it's something I enjoy doing, right? So if you can affect one person, it was worth doing this. But I don't know. I never thought about doing anything for a living, for money. Because that's where you get in trouble. Because you sell your soul for a check. And then you don't have control of it. Like, if you look at how corporate media is, you have people that broke off from corporate media to do their online news channels and all that. Well, what happens? Eventually you want some money. So you sell out to the same corporate masters that you did before to keep it on the air. I'm thinking of Breaking Points. That's a show that I used to like those guys. They were on the hill and they broke away, and then they were running out of money. So now their viewpoints changed because they're getting paid. That's the point. You should only do it if you believe in it. And they can at this point because that's the only job.
But there's on the other token too. I always like to look at the positive side where you're.
I don't mean that in negative. They're getting paid.
Yes, they're getting paid. But there's others out there that do similar things where I've seen. Then they start getting ads from companies that I would assume align with their viewpoints because it hasn't really changed from. We've broken away or started it from scratch doing, and then
it's just harder to do that with all the algorithms and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. It's not that it can't be done.
Yeah, happens. The biggest thing to get over that hurdle is consistency.
Right.
You can have the crappiest. Now you also have stepping back there. It can't be crappy. You have to have a.
It can't be total garbage.
You can be consistent, and if it's total garbage, you still aren't going to get anywhere. But if you are consistent and you have a level of, how do I want to word it? Professionalism, gravitas, or whatever.
Oh my God, were you really going to say that? I was just saying that to make fun of you.
No,
gravitas.
Why would you try to make fun of me?
Why wouldn't I?
Are we going to change this to a counseling session?
Never change who you are. Stay consistent. You were being positive. Continue.
That's probably about all I had. I don't remember.
Gravitas.
Yes.
I've tried to think where I even heard that said, but I think when someone learns a word like that, they overuse it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
So every time I talk to you, I feel like you have a word a day calendar, and then when
absolutely.
I talk to you, like every week, you say certain words like all the time.
But then I forget the word, and then I'm like, I can't use it again, and someone else goes, and I'm like, what a
this
douche!
Week
Why
it's
are you saying
gravitas, isn't it?
It's going to be gravitas for the rest of the week. It is a Wednesday. I want to ask you this because I don't know how much time we have. But how much? You looked at the clock.
I'll figure out a way to.
You'll allow it
to rudely interrupt you to break out.
I just have one more question because again, your whole life is about making things, making them, then editing them for consumption, right? If somebody was to say to you, what is the most important thing in any project, whether it's a green screen project, it's a podcast, what's the most important thing that you think goes into that? Gravitas.
Actually, I was thinking about saying that, but chose to try to go on the serious route until you screwed it up.
No, I am being serious because again, someone's going to come to you with an idea. What is the most important thing you got to get out of them?
It's knowing how to execute on it. So you don't have to have gone to film school. You don't have to know how to edit or use green screen. It's all about how you execute it. Do you have the time or inclination to learn how to do it? Or do you just want to get to that end product? So I'm going to partner with, not necessarily me, but of course you can.
It'd be nice if
us.
they did.
Yeah, or us, or somebody in the field or who knows how to do that. It's all going to be based on that. Is how do you want that to be executed? I would say probably be the most important thing, because anybody can take their phone and record themselves doing whatever. What are they trying to do with it? Is it just, hey, here's my review of XYZ movie I just saw, just to share it with their friends?
Right.
Or do they want to actually legitimately, hey, I want to review these movies. I want to talk about movies. I want to grow an audience talking about movies because it's my passion. There's different ways to execute those, or there are different roads for those because their end goals are different.
On my end, the way that I always tell people is whatever you want to do, start. Like right now, like you said, you have that phone in your hand. You have no excuses that you can't make content.
Correct.
Just start, because you never know. That audience will be. I have more people come up to me. My daughter and I will always do a movie review every Monday, and it's a minute.
Mm-hmm.
People will walk up to her who have not met her and ask her what movie she's seen lately and was any good.
Yeah.
Her teacher in school thinks that I know how to do all the editing and all that stuff. I just went to go see her in her band concert, and they wanted me to help with the rigging and all this. Like, do you know how to do this? No. Well, we see you putting stuff out. Yes, but that's not me. You're seeing the result of me putting out content. But then people think you know how to do it. The whole point is, I know someone that knows how to do it, and we can get it done.
Yeah.
But I would say start now. If you want to do whatever it is you want to do, I don't care if you want to get in shape or you want to do something and put it out as a podcast, start now. Because it's only going to get better. If you wait until it's going to be perfect, you're going to be the shits for years.
Yeah.
Do it now, and the audience will follow. That's the only thing I would say. Why don't you send us home since you started us off?
No, I'm just going to let you do that. I'm going to give that to you. Go ahead.
You're a giver.
I am.
Gravitas. You've been listening to Broad Street Radio. We'll see you next week.